Hello everyone and welcome back to another Sensei series. Now let me ask you, does your guitar playing sound boring and lifeless? Well, if so, good news for you my friend. Today we are looking at 10 ways to stylize your guitar playing. After you've learned all the right notes to play, these are the elements of touch that really bring your music to life, much like how my pink blazer has made boring old me look like a king of the flamboyant ringmasters. Most of these I picked up from things under the bluesy, rocky umbrella, but there's no reason why you can't incorporate them in whatever music you play. Links to the individual points in the description if you need to jump around. Let's dive in. First, we've got the double string bend, which sounds a little something like this. I picked this up from one of my favorites, Stevie Ray Vaughan. It's one of his signature sounds, but you can hear it used by many of his contemporaries. With this technique, we still bend our string, but we fret the string underneath, in this case the B string, hit them both together to get this sound. Our ear focuses on the higher in-tune note while the out-of-tune B string rings out underneath. This wonderful dissonance is perfect for those gritty blues solos. While we're on the subject of bending, our next technique is overbending. Now I'll try my best to get the majority of my bends as close to in tune as possible. However, now and then I'll purposely overbend a note like this. It's deliberate and I'll usually try to do it fairly quickly instead of spending a whole lot of time on that out of tune note. It adds some tension and I find when used sparingly, it can really spice up a solo with that unexpectedness. Next is microbends, which unlike microbeads are totally fine for the environment. This is the opposite of overbending. Instead of going higher to the desired pitch, you go under it. And just like overbending, I'll use these sporadically. I won't spend too much time hanging out on the out-of-tune notes or it's too dissonant for my taste. You can bend up to them, or alternatively, you can pre-bend and then release them. Moving on, we have vibrato, or vibrato, tomato, which all of you probably use already, but I'd like you to take a closer look at it. Vibrato is when we fluctuate the pitch of a note by gently bending it. Different players have different ways of using this. For example, B.B. King will use a quick butterfly style vibrato like this. While Eric Clapton, for example, would use a slower vibrato. Both work but add quite a different texture when you really listen to it. When I'm soloing, I'll try to be methodical with how I use this technique. Listen to how different this note sounds if I start with a fast vibrato and slow down versus starting with a slow vibrato and speeding up. It creates a totally different expectation for what might come next. By strategically using this technique, you can add a lot of underlying musicality in your playing. Next up is the all but one string mute. There's probably a better name for this, but I don't know it. It's a simple technique that adds a percussive element to your playing. Check it out. Very Stevie Ray, and with this one I hit all the open strings on the upstroke, and then on the downstroke I hit all the strings again, but only one rings out. I'm using my thumb to mute the thicker strings, and then the inside of my fingers mutes the thinner ones. That open string hit happens so fast we don't really register it as pitch, but rather as a percussive sound. The muted strings on the downstroke also add a percussive element, which is great if you're playing without a rhythm guitar player. Those additional sounds help fill in the sonic space that the accompaniment normally would. My next technique is the thumb pick string rake. I'm struggling with these names, bear with me. This one's right out of the Brad Paisley playbook, but even if you're not a chicken picker, it's still a beauty. Check it out. This will only really work if you're playing a note on the G string or lower, but basically what you're doing is instead of hitting the note dead on with your pick, you drag your thumb and pick over top of the higher strings with an upstroke, and then with a downstroke you hit your note. If you're not used to using this technique, it might hurt a little bit while your callus builds up, but gotta play it till your fingers bleed, right? Here's another one commonly found in the world of country music, picking a note right by the bridge. This one couldn't be easier. Instead of picking a note where you normally would, you hit the string right where it's about to reach the saddle. You get a bright, aggressive, punchy sound, which I personally love, especially on those lower notes. Next up on our list is number 8, ghost hammer-ons, pull-offs, and slides. These are those typical techniques that we all use, except you do them really quickly so they're almost unnoticeable, creating a ghost note. Listen to the first note of these examples. They add a nice element of flavor, I'll usually use the prior note in the scale as the ghost note, leading into my more sustained one. I don't even think of them as a separate beat, more so as a grace note connected to the main one. Next up is working the old trem bar, and this one only applies to people who have Bigsby's, Floyd Roses, or whatever other trem systems on their guitars. If that's you, then you want to make sure that your guitar is well set up and well lubricated, or you are going to run into a ton of tuning woes. The idea, simple enough, you use your trem bar to add expression to notes. This is very much in the vein of Jeff Beck, who will rarely use his fingers for vibrato, but will instead rely on this thing. Among the techniques I use are going up and down on a sustained note, adding vibrato. The cool thing about doing this instead of relying on your fingers is that you not only can go above the note, but also below it. You can also create vibrato on full chords. Besides that, I'll scoop up to notes much like the ghost notes from our previous point. Another cool thing is flicking the bar to get a warbly sound. Or when I'm sustaining a note, I might just tap the bar, adding a lower grace note. The next is something a little bit tricky, doing swells with your volume knob. The concept is simple enough. You turn your volume knob down right before you pick a note, and then you turn it up right after, giving you a violinish type sound. The most impressive examples of this I've heard were done by Joe Bonamassa and Yngwie Malmsteen, and this technique works best with a Tele or Strat, but if you've got something else, you could always use a volume pedal. There you have it, 10 techniques to stylize your guitar solos. And now that we're totally styling, I'm going to do a guitar solo using all of these. See if you can pick them out. That about wraps it up. I hope you guys enjoyed this video and were able to take something from it. If you have some topics you'd like me to cover on another Sensei series, please let me know in the comments. I always like hearing from you. Thank you all for watching, and a big thank you to everyone who supports my channel through Patreon. It's through that program that I'm able to bring you videos like these. And through that, I also offer a monthly giveaway to everyone involved. This month's prize is the Filthy Rich Tremolo pedal by Dan Electro. You can hear it used in the backing track for my last solo. Every month I'll draw a name from a hat and give someone a prize much like this one. If you're interested in that, as well as a number of other unique rewards, please consider hitting that link over there. Until next time, thank you all for watching. I'm Samurai Guitarist, and I will see you again soon.